4440 with a miss. No change. Definite change. Something on number 2. So I don't know how, so there's the piston. I've got the camera down inside that injector hole, and here's the liner under my thumb, and that black line is the gap between the piston, and you can see that silver edge is the edge of the bowl of the piston, and then I can spin the camera. I can't do it with one hand, but I can move I guess I kind of can. I can move the camera around and kind of get a good picture, and then we don't see anything, but I can zoom way in, and you're still not seeing any major defects that would cause a guy any concern. So we'll send the injector out to the fuel shop, have them get it tested. Okay. All right, so that injector went to the diesel shop, and the body was shot. It's leaking through the body components, so we're waiting on that. Let's do another quick diagnostic thing. So you got a 4230, good looking. Look at that hood. That's for an old 4230. That's a good looking tractor. The interior's all done up nice. You know, somebody's really taking care of this thing. So the scenario is like right now I just drove it in. It's 35 degrees outside. You push the clutch to the floor, and you can't go into reverse, and it bounces. You know, when you go into 1, 2, or 3, 4, the tractor wants to creep and roll. And the second you move that pedal just a whisker off the floor, she grabs and goes. And then you push the pedal to the floor, and it's not disengaging very well. So like backing into the stall here, you got to tap the brakes. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to come to this port right here for clutch. It says clutch right there. So I'm just going to come to that port. We got our DR fittings. So when they talk about DRs, diagnostic receptacles, you can actually get these. I was thinking about getting a kit for myself now. You know, $200 to $500 gets you a kit with a bunch of these and an electronic gauge. Kind of a really slick deal. We got a small one and a big one. And so I'll just pull that plug and put whichever one, probably the small one, will fit, and put that in there, and then we'll start it up, and we'll just see what the pressure is doing according to the clutch pedal, and that will kind of steer us a lot. The other thing we got going on, let me clean up, hold on. If that clutch pressure works really normal, or works good, looks normal, we can come to our lube pressure here. So inside the clutch valve, you've got to split the tractor on the back side. There's a lube reduction valve. So if your lube pressure does not go to 0 when you push the clutch pedal down, that lube pressure is enough oil in the permaclutch to cause a dragging scenario. So first we'll start with the clutch pedal, see what that's doing. Then we'll check lube pressure and see what that's doing. After them 2 checks, if everything there is good, then we're probably going to split it, because we probably got warped plates and stuff like that. If we can't quite kill the clutch pressure, then we might look at adjusting the clutch pedal height. Kind of just go where it tells us to go. So first, let's check that clutch pressure. Let's see if we can. All right, so there's our pressure. So I'm up quite a bit before we get pressure. Here, let me bring that to foot movement. So we're gaining a couple pounds right on the bottom, but that ain't so bad. Boy, the second but if we're at zero there, we're at zero there, and you can see the front wheel out the window, it's trying to motor the tractor. So at 0 pounds, that shouldn't be. So let's check that lube pressure, make sure that's going to 0, and then we'll probably be splitting it. So we're on lube pressure now. So you can see it comes up. Let me get that bubble out of there. You're almost 25 pounds, and it drops pretty much to 0. So that's working how it should. And we still got bumping going on. So we'll split it. We'll split it. And if that lube valve was acting up, it would be a split at the clutch housing anyhow. All right, so with a few more driving around tests as well, I kind of, you know, you pretty much determine like we got to split to at least inspect, because there was just some weird oddities about it. So this clutch is a little bit heavy, and so I put these long dowels in here, because then you can take a pry bar and get it popped loose and then lift it off there. Hey, if you're uncertain how heavy it is and you rig up a little strap here on a cherry picker, I wouldn't pick on a guy at all for being a sissy or anything. It's heavy, and so, you know, you throw a strap on here with your cherry picker, nobody got hurt, erring on the side of safety. So the only thing holding this whole assembly together was just your 3 studs. Get the jam nut, the regular nut, and the little backer, your little shim stack, or whatever you want to call it, spacer. Get that off there. This front cover is going to lift off. We'll just flip him over and then take our PTO out, and hopefully we find something in our traction clutch. The other thing, at a quick inspection, that is just sloppy. It's an early model, so you got a ball in here that keeps this from rotating. But we'll probably be pulling that housing out, since it is a baling tractor as well. Lots of PTO use. But yeah, let's get this apart. Well, this is all new. Like looks like brand new. For one, John Deere discs aren't red. And, well, we didn't expect this. Everything looks like brand new. Talked to the customer. He's got about 3,000 hours on the tractor, so somebody did this right before he got it. For one, red is usually aftermarket. The John Deere plates are almost always black with a brown, but everything looks immaculate and new. And so that really throws you for a loop. That hydraulically, the tractor's working great. Mechanically, the tractor looks great. But physically, we've got a problem. And so let the fun continue. So at this point, I'm going to continue like a normal clutch job. We'll pull that clutch housing, that piston operating housing out, and do the packings, because he's way too sloppy. He shouldn't be that sloppy. The very early series had a locating ball right there with a little snap ring. But we'll get that housing out, do the PTO and traction clutch piston seals, and just kind of give it a look to see what on earth is going on. Yeah, kind of weird, very weird, but that's part of the deal, I guess. So I want to take that out, but we have to start at the clutch valve housing, which is just a half a dozen perimeter bolts, a pin on your PTO and your traction clutch, and a spring. Not overly complicated, the one pipe coming back to the fitting there. Pretty simple and straightforward, but you have to take that out because of these tubes. These 3 tubes stayed with the housing. these two tubes stayed here. And then you can see here's that big, it's a slosh plate to save horsepower so that big gear ain't churning oil. That's your PTO drive gear, and there's your PTO shaft. So when you pull your PTO shafts out, this big gear stays here, and it should stay in position enough that you can easily pull that shaft out, fix your PTO stuff, and put it back in without any worries. And there's your 2-speed housing right there, and there's the gear set for it. And so if you had a 2-speed problem, you could actually peek at the discs a little bit for that one set and be like, oh, it, you know, at least it gives you an initial start. So now we should be able to pull that guy out. So here we go. You got the outside bolts to hold it to the housing. You got your inside bolts to hold it to your 2-speed. So there's your 2-speed. If you had to take him out now, you just get this little pin out, pull that little pin, get that shaft out the side of the tractor, and you just rock him forward. Kind of rolls out. But here's your traction bearing, there's your PTO, and then you got the springs, your return spring. You gotta take that off, take them return springs off to be able to get this PTO out to check them pistons. And so there's your PTO brake. But let's get that taken apart, see what we see. This is the reason you're watching this video, is right here. Put it on some blocks and it'll hold this plate. Push down with your needle nose vice grips to hold the spring down. With a good O-ring pick, you can get that snap ring started and then pry off of your vice grips. Hopefully I can do this one hand without ruining my vice grips. And pop that snap ring off. There you go. Now I got the other one to do, and it landed right down in there. Then we can pull that stuff apart. Well, there we go. We're completely taken apart. We'll get a new piston because our brake, that's our brake for the PTO, and you can see that's coming apart. Knock this gear out. There's a snap ring behind here. They give you this nice groove to work in. With it upside down, it sits in there just like that. Then you get that snap ring out. I'm gonna let you guys figure out how you want to do that one. Just for the fun of it, why not? Leave a little to the imagination. To help make matters worse is everything actually looks really good. Even the crankcase outlet valve. There's a little scuffing and scoring on that spot there, but otherwise it looks good, and we saw on the gauge that it's working good. So next step is I think the one thing I laid the discs on here, and the one disc had just a tiny bit of, you can see that, a little bit of warpage. Since we're here, we might throw the new traction discs in from John Deere. PTO looks fine. There was no complaints of PTO, but with that one plate being a little bit warped, is it enough to cause a problem? Probably not. But since we have a weird scenario right now that everything is just looking fantastic, we really got to go to the extremes. So we'll probably just get the traction clutches. Not a whole lot of money. Everything else looks super good. Everything looks super good there. Next thing is we'll just pop that valve apart and just inspect everything there. Since our pressures worked really good, I would assume that to look really good inside, but let's pop him apart and see what we're up against. So this is pretty interesting. You see the weld right there. So that's your PTO. So right here with the little "you sunk my battleship" pin, that's hooked to your lever. So when you move your lever, you're moving that. But that plunger back there is the one that helps hold the PTO on. So when you move your lever up, you kind of feel it, and then all of a sudden at the very top, all of a sudden, it kind of like falls over center and gets locked. Well, it's a hydraulic assist that's doing the lock, and it's not uncommon for this arm to break. So somebody already welded this arm up. So that's kind of, you don't see that very often. But the arm breaks once in a while. So if you have a PTO and you push the lever up and it works, but as soon as you let go of the PTO, it shuts off. So then you got to put the bungee cord across the dash to hold your PTO up. There's a very highly likely that this is broke, or your lever's out of adjustment and you're just not quite getting it far enough. But so kind of a side conversation there, but I thought that'd be fun to look at. Well, here's another life-saving tip. You got your clutch and your PTO. Keep this strap, this little strap that pins onto each one, keep it with that specific valve, because they look identical with just a tiny bit of difference. And on this tractor, maybe they are identical. On other tractors, there's just a tiny bit of difference. And so if you keep them organized, you'll be just fine. If you get them mixed up, you'll be pulling this all back down again, because either your traction clutch or your PTO won't quite, lock in, or your traction clutch might be a little bit funky. At this point, we haven't really done anything above and beyond a normal, 10,000 hour tractor clutch job. This would kind of be a normal clutch job. It's just this one's different because we had symptoms, but everything's looking good and hydraulically everything worked good. So this one's just adding a little bit of confusion to it. But for the most part, this is what I do for a high hour tractor clutch job. So there we go. Now it's just a matter of time. We'll get gaskets and O-rings and parts ordered up, and Yep. So thanks for watching and kind of going through this with me, and hopefully this helps somebody. So when parts get in here, we'll get everything ordered up, and we'll start putting all this stuff back together. And so guys, thanks for watching.